$14 million of medical debt has been paid off for St. Mary's patients, but a COVID-era policy ending in less than a week could push medical debts even higher. Plus, how Oconee County is winning the war on invasive species and keeping the parks pristine.
Stormy weather affected most of the southeast this weekend. I'll have a recap and a look at the forecast for the next few days. All of this and more next on Grady Newsource.
This is Northeast Georgia's only local source for TV news. From the Grady College of the University of Georgia, this is Grady Newsource.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Rachel Branning. We come on the air tonight with some heartbreaking news. 3 children were killed in a school shooting at a private Christian school in Nashville. The shooting also took the lives of 3 adults. Nashville police say the suspect, a 28-year-old woman, is also dead. The shooting happened at the Covenant School about 5 hours ago. The school is about 200 students from pre-K to 6th grade. And Nashville police say the shooter was armed with 2 assault-style rifles and a pistol. In a press conference, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the president is calling on Congress to act. Public schools in Athens-Clarke County will likely see changes in safety planning in the near future. Grady Newsource reporter Josh Talevsky tells us about how the Georgia legislature is addressing school safety.
It's been 2 decades of just watching school shootings.
For District 6 Representative Dr. Mumby Anderson, school safety has been a common topic of discussion among the Clarke County Board of Education. While the board has taken measures to address the safety of public school students, House Bill 147 is aiming to combat the issue statewide. Also known as the Safe Schools Act, House Bill 147 would create a school safety and anti-gang endorsement. All eligible professional personnel employed in public schools would complete a safety and anti-gang training program to receive the endorsement. The bill would require public schools to prepare a safety plan and submit them to local emergency and law enforcement agencies, as well as the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency. Schools would also be required to conduct drills, including an intruder drill to be done by October 1st of every school year.
We are needing to address these issues in so many different ways other than just ensuring that active shooters coming from the outside that we're protecting our kids from that.
But Anderson says school safety does not come cheap. She believes there are benefits in regards to funding from the bill.
There may be a time in the near future where, we're falling into a recession. Then having a legislation like this would be a great benefit to us being able to seek funding from the state or from other entities that are supporting safe schools.
The Safe Schools Act has been passed in both the Georgia House and Senate. Josh Talevsky, Grady Newsource.
Last week, a bell from a church in Madison County was stolen. Grady Newsource reporter Maddie McCaffrey has more on this developing story.
Last week, in the city of Colbert, an antique bell that stood at Wagoner's Grove Baptist Church was stolen between the days of March 19th and 21st, according to the Madison County Sheriff's Office.
Obviously, they're devastated. I mean, it's a big part of their heritage with that church. It was placed there by relatives or ancestors of some of the current members, so they're obviously distraught.
Until it was stolen last week, the antique bell here at Wagoneers Baptist Church stood right here for more than 160 years.
Most of the time we have something along this nature, it's almost a prank type deal. Usually with a younger person, they consider it a prank and just doesn't realize the implications to the actual church members.
Community members of Colbert are shocked by the theft of the church bell.
Well, you don't need to steal from anybody, but especially from a church, because that's something holy, and all the old people put a lot of labor and a lot of money to get that bell and to get it working.
Currently, the Madison County Sheriff's Office is investigating the theft by speaking to those who live nearby to see if they saw anything, and a reward for information has been announced.
The church is offering $500, and Sheriff Moore here in the county has offered to put up $500 out of his own pocket to match that. So there's a $1,000 reward for any information that may lead to the recovery of the bell.
Captain Patton says the official charge for this crime is theft by taking. The Madison County Sheriff's Office says they will continue to keep the community informed on their investigation. Maddie McCaffrey, Grady Newsource.
St. Mary's Hospital announced last week that it's partnering with nonprofit RIP Medical Debt to abolish over $14 million of medical debt for St. Mary's patients. Reporter Olivia Wakeham brings us the full story.
Former patients of St. Mary's Hospital may receive a pleasant surprise in the mail in the next few months. The hospital partnered with RIP Medical Debt, a nonprofit that abolishes unpaid medical bills. RIP will relieve $14.03 million of debt from 12,000 former St. Mary's patients.
We're here to care for the whole person. That includes mind, body, and spirit. And medical debt is a drag on all three of those areas.
According to a 2022 survey from the Commonwealth Fund, people with medical debt experience long-term financial stresses, like lower credit scores, credit card debt, or not being able to pay for necessities.
It's a horrible burden when you know you already owe money to then go back to the emergency room and say, hey, I need more care.
A COVID-era policy that prevents state governments from unenrolling people from Medicaid will end on March 31st. The Georgia Budget and Policy Institute estimates that over 500,000 Georgians will lose their Medicaid coverage. This could make healthcare debts even worse.
It's definitely an issue that we're sort of bracing for, and kind of makes our work sort of more relevant than ever, for sure.
RIP Medical Debt worked with St. Mary's to select patients who met one of two criteria for relief. Their medical debt must be 5% or more of that person's annual income, or their income can't be more than 4 times the federal poverty level, and the relief cannot be requested.
But we do appreciate when an institution will work with us, because it does just help acknowledge that this is like an issue. I think it's positive to see healthcare leaders, sort of trying to directly address this issue.
Ralston and Lempert say there is a chance St. Mary's could partner with RIP again in the future. In the meantime, letters with good news should arrive in the next few months. Olivia Wakeham for Grady Newsource.
Just recently, many residents across Oconee County experienced vandalism when anti-Semitic propaganda was placed on their driveways and near their mailboxes. Newsource reporter McGregor Rowland spoke with the Oconee County Sheriff's Office to find out the current status of this incident and the search for the suspect.
In Oconee County, many residents were shocked to find anti-Semitic propaganda being placed on their property. This included various flyers slated with harsh remarks and accusations about Jewish people.
I'm here in Walbrook Farms, one of the 4 neighborhoods that was hit with the anti-Semitic flyers.
With many angry residents and no suspect being caught, authorities are hesitant to shed too much light on what happened.
While finding the person who did it and maybe having a good talking to them might be beneficial, we think that if we do that, we're giving them the attention that they're looking for.
Even if the culprit was found, there's little to no legal action authorities can take.
It's still considered First Amendment protected speech. So, I mean, somebody can say all the bad things they want to say about somebody or another race or, another ethnic group or whatnot, and it's not illegal for them to say that. We don't, agree with the literature, but unfortunately they're protected just like the rest of us.
Sheriff Hale says this anti-Semitic spread has been a prevalent issue, and a solution has yet to be found.
The flyers that have been provided to us by the people who received them are the exact same flyers that we're getting all over the United States.
Okay.
It's not just happening here in Oconee County.
McGregor Rowland, Grady Newsource.
I'm Ashley Balsavius here with a special weather report. Northeast Georgia saw severe thunderstorms over the weekend and last night, bringing us heavy rain this morning. And it's not just here in Athens. Severe weather, including multiple tornadoes, led Governor Brian Kemp to issue a state of emergency yesterday. The governor's order states the storms caused damage to buildings and homes and that assistance from the state is needed for the public safety. It's set to expire April 3rd. Now, we're in the midst of tornado season here in Georgia, which is March through May, peaking in April, the National Weather Service says. Here's some tips on how to keep yourself safe. First, make sure you know the difference between a severe weather watch versus a warning. A tornado watch means you need to monitor the weather as conditions mean a tornado could form, while warnings mean take action. A tornado has been spotted in the area and you should seek shelter immediately. Now, it's important to also know where to go when there's a tornado. Make sure you move indoors, try to stay away from windows, and go to the lowest level possible. Go to a basement if you have one. Now, after the break, I'll be back with your 5-day forecast.
With a bag of popcorn in hand, young filmmakers walked the blue carpet at Morton Theater for the 10th annual Ripple Effect Film Project.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Got a new house. It's looking pretty cool so far. I'm teaching Louise how to cook some lasagna. Thank you.
Study, please.
I think I finally found a place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Welcome back. I'm Ashley Balsavius with a look at your 5-day forecast. Right now, we're under a flood watch for the next few minutes or so until 6 o'clock. Now, after a soggy start to the day, tonight will be clear with lows around 50 degrees. Now, going to tomorrow, it'll be partly sunny with a high of 70 and a low of 42. Wednesday is going to be gorgeous with temps in the upper 60s and a low of 41. Going to Thursday, we're looking at a high of 73, a low of 49. And kicking off the weekend, Friday is going to be pretty hot with a high of 80 and a low of 63. That's all for now. I'll be back more with later.
Ashley, pre-K through 12th graders in and around Athens-Clarke County made a splash at Morton Theater yesterday. Grady Newsource reporter Juliana Washburn went to see these young filmmakers who were advocating for water conservation.
Bag of popcorn in hand, young filmmakers walked the blue carpet at Morton Theater for the 10th annual Ripple Effect Film Project. The finalists waited to see if their short film would be picked for one of 9 awards. Sahara Felto and her 2 siblings were one of those winners.
Today's winner for the Best in Festival is 24/7.
It was a little shaky. I was like, oh, are we going to win? Are we going to win? And then, she called our names out. I was like, yes.
But behind each award is a deeper message, according to Lori Lofton, who is the Water Conservation Coordinator with Athens-Clarke County.
The kids are able to be the voice for water. They're able to create a story for water and speak, give it some words.
Fresh water is limited, which is why this year the Ripple Effect Film Project wanted to raise awareness to the idea that the little things we do during the day, like opting for a shorter shower, can make a ripple effect on our water system as a whole. They asked for young artists to take this message and run with their creativity.
Felto and her siblings used their animated short film to show how we depend on water every day.
Water is really important, and it really does have a job. It's not just something to waste.
And Lofton hopes the young filmmakers have now created a ripple effect of their own.
They've created this little 30 to 90 second short film, and it has this great impact that we will have no idea where it goes and how it spreads.
Reporting in Athens with Grady Newsource, I am Juliana Washburn.
A blueprint on how to battle invasive wildlife. Grady Newsource reporter Colin Oakes has the story.
Asian carp in the Mississippi, lionfish in the Florida Keys.
Invasive species have been making their home in the southeast for quite a while now. And here in Oconee County, several species of invasive plants are taking root in parks like the one behind me here. Now, removing invasive species is no small task, but the Keep Oconee County Beautiful Commission and their president, Sidney Pritchard, are embracing the challenge.
The current project has been a 4-year battle to eradicate autumn olive from Heritage Park, and the job isn't done yet.
It wasn't discouraging because, again, we can see what we've done. You'll always have to monitor it because, as long as birds are eating and then flying off to other locations, you have that transfer of seeds and things, and which is how most of those things spread.
The autumn olive was detected early by horse riders at the park, which experts say is key for eradication.
If you know where on public property, you know that there are some invasives, and again, once you start looking for them, or you've been working with them and you see the damage that they cause, and then you can see what happens when you remove them, you just can't unsee those things. So we always appreciate feedback.
It's a huge endeavor, but the results speak for themselves.
When we first came here, the first place we started was almost all the invasive, and since we removed it from there, all the native plants have come back there. The river cane, American beauty berries, it's just incredible. The trees, they're all back there, so it doesn't look anything like it looked when we started.
Removal is one step, but to keep invasives from returning, there has been an effort to educate.
They talked about how they grow, how they spread, the times a year that you can remove them, the success rates, follow-up, and different applications and methods that you can use. So
English ivy, privet, and kudzu are other problem plants. The costs and labor to fully remove them are quite high, but Oconee County is showing it can be done with an observant community and passionate volunteers. Colin Oaks, Grady Newsource.
Coming up after the break, how a proposed rule can make it easier to cancel those pesky subscriptions.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
My Shiro doesn't always wear a cape, but she always has time for a hug, a smile, for going the extra mile. My Shiro stretches every dollar, puts in long hours, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. When you're ready to retire, we want you to be able to enjoy it. It's time to start saving now. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
The Federal Trade Commission is proposing a click-to-cancel rule requiring subscription-based sellers to make it easier for customers to cancel their recurring payments. The proposed rule would require paid memberships to be as easy to cancel as they are to sign up for, with just a click. This proposal would help consumers cancel the seemingly endless unwanted subscriptions. Athens has one of the highest poverty rates in all of Georgia, which is why many Athens organizations are working to lessen the issue of housing insecurity And one organization, the Family Promise of Athens, is doing just that. Grady Newsource reporter Logan Crump tells us more.
The right to housing is considered to be a basic human right, but many Athenians find themselves facing homelessness each day, with Athens-Clarke County alone having over 200 homeless individuals on a given night. However, one organization, the Family Promise of Athens, hopes to get people housed, one family at a time.
The mission of Family Promise, which is to work to mobilize the community to help families that are experiencing homelessness.
Madison Sanders is the executive director of the Family Promise of Athens. Her organization has 4 main programs, each program crafted to tackle a specific root cause of homelessness. The program believes that meeting these basic needs helps families recover from their situation and enables them to independently stabilize themselves.
In our shelter program, they're going to be setting goals in terms of things that they're interested in achieving. Finding permanent housing is the ultimate goal.
The shelter program also provides case management, which allows adults in these families to have legal assistance and achieve financial independence. Tanaja English, the current shelter coordinator, used to work as a case manager, where she helps her clients on a more intimate level.
I help with referrals, like if they needed therapy or if they just pretty much needed anything, like just somebody to talk to, because a lot of times they really have no one to talk to.
With different services and a team committed to care and outreach, the Family Promise looks to a hopeful future for Athens-Clarke families. Logan Crump, Grady Newsource.
The weather wasn't a home run this weekend, but that didn't stop the Bulldogs softball team from scoring a big no-hitter. I'll have more on that and your full sports report after the break.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
You're home before sunrise. On top of the house, the kids, and our future. The smell of your cooking is our alarm clock. My Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now so we can feel prepared for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need so we can live our lives to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight, both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back, because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Welcome back. I'm Sydney Hood with a look at sports, starting with the first SEC win of the season for Georgia baseball. Of course, the Bulldogs knocked it out of the park, pounding a 24-7 victory against Auburn, scoring 16 runs in the 8th inning alone, which moves them to 15-9 overall for the season and 1-5 for the SEC. The Bulldogs face the Georgia Southern Eagles Wednesday here in Athens. Georgia softball also scored big this weekend. The Bulldogs came prepped and ready for business against Mississippi State with a 3-0 victory on Friday, followed by a 10-0 shutout Saturday. Shelby Walters threw the team's first SEC no-hitter since 2009. And speaking of records, Saturday's win leaves the Bulldogs 7-1 in the SEC and overall for the season 27-6. This Saturday, the Bulldogs host the Kentucky Wildcats with the first pitch at 6:30. The weather certainly wasn't up to par for the 15 teams that teed up in the 51st annual Liz Murphy Collegiate Classic. The final round was canceled Sunday, so the second round results ended up becoming the final outcome, leaving the Bulldogs in 6th place ahead of Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Alabama. The tournament wrapped up the regular season for Georgia, but the SEC championship tees off on April 12th in Birmingham. Looking ahead in the week, Wednesday, the Bulldog track team is running to Austin for the Texas Relays, and to wrap it up here in Athens, men's tennis will serve against the number 6 ranked Kentucky Wildcats. Coming up after the break, 2 tigers escaped from a Metro Atlanta zoo after severe weather. Ashley Balsavias has a look at how Bear Hollow Zoo here in Athens prepares for severe weather so a bear doesn't end up in your backyard.
We're going to the playoffs. I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No. I'll call for a ride. Wait, why does my face look like that? I'm playing with these new face filters. Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine. I'm gonna need that back. No. Kevin!
The future is female, a quote that you have all probably seen several times this month. Grady Newsource reporter Allie Piegler will tell you how a female auto repair shop owner is making this quote come to life.
Sally Mac's Auto Repair Shop opened their doors in January of this year. Sally Mac's is owned by Lori Slay. She says she was inspired to start this repair shop by a few different things. Her dad's repair shop when she was younger, the reality of taking your car to a reliable place, and her mother with the nickname Sally Mac.
Mom always emphasized get a good education, get a good job, don't be financially dependent on anybody. And I think had she not raised me that way, when this opportunity came along, I would not have had the courage to try to do something that is a bit unusual, having a woman owning a car repair shop.
She explains what it is like being a female auto repair shop owner and what that means for her business.
I had some fear going into it. I felt like there would be some people that would come here because it's a woman-owned shop, and I felt like there would be some people that would not come here because it was a woman-owned shop.
Slay says there's hope for female technicians. As her shop grows, she intends to hire one. Allie Piegler, Grady Newsource.
2 tigers were on the loose in Troup County this weekend after escaping from Pine Mountain Animal Safari during this weekend's severe weather. Now, over at the Athens local zoo, Bear Hollow, there are no tigers, but there's plenty of bears. The zoo has a severe weather plan they follow so a bear doesn't end up in your backyard. Here's what the zoo's coordinator, Kelly Garrison, has to say.
For example, yesterday we were in a thunderstorm watch, a severe thunderstorm watch all day. So our dangerous animals are given access to their night houses, so they have the choice to come inside, and typically they do when it's a prolonged rain. They typically come in.
Such as the bears and alligator are taken inside, locked inside their night houses during tornado warnings or watches. If visitors are at the zoo during severe weather, they are escorted inside. Now, that's all for tonight. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you Wednesday at 5 p.m.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
You know, a lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have... I looked at everything in a different light. And I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
Good show. All right, here's Sarah.
Hey, guys.
That was good.
Cool. So, yeah, we're doing pretty well. We are in the midst of trying to really help Timmy really get used to TriCaster and really build up her skills with technical directors. So she's doing a great job. That first block was a lot of switching between stuff. So really happy everything worked out. Again, y'all's scripts were in and amazing, and it was super clear to me where everything was going. So thank you again for that. That's kind of, I think, all I have right now for y'all. But yeah, thanks, guys.
Echoing what Sarah said, we are trying to get the level up on the production side. So you may have seen today, like the breaking news flags, those type things, and those are all different pieces. I am not going to echo anything that Sarah didn't say. Good job to you guys, the leadership team. Everybody's package was in. Everybody's package was in before 4:35, and I think that's the first time this semester we've had that. So congrats to you guys. Thank you for that. It makes our lives a lot easier. There was about 15 minutes from the time we had everything in and set till showtime, which allows us to look and go, okay, here's a potential problem, there's a potential problem, and solve them before they happen. But that's all I've got, because we're honored.
Or horrored?
I'm honored. They're horrified to have Professor Cantrell here. She watched the show, made notes. I think that's 7 or 8 pages of notes she's got there. So hope y'all aren't hungry.
I am happy to be here. Thank you. You know, Professor V has brought in other people to come and watch your show, I'm sure. So it's always good to hear from, you know, somebody with a little different point of view. So doesn't you know, take this with a big shaker of salt. Recognize that the value might be that I just know a couple of you. So really, I don't have a dog in the fight, like trying to hurt your feelings or, you know, pump you up. I'm just going to call it like I see it. I will say this, based on my past experience of teaching Newsource, you guys are really far along for this point in the semester. There's what I expected that I was going to have to talk about is not even a thing, which was the veracity of the information and the content, which is usually the biggie. But knowing Professor V, well, it's apparent she's already got you there. So that's pretty cool, which makes it more fun for me because I get to talk about other stuff, about how we take that important information that you all spent so much time getting and then making that something that somebody really, really wants to watch. You know, your goal, this is such a journalism goal, right, is for people to go, honey, get in here. You've got to see this kid's story. I can't really pronounce his last name. It's Ochs, but it sounded like oats. But come and watch quickly. That's your goal. Because you've done all this hard work. You don't want to be like the tree falling in the forest, right? You do this hard work. But because it maybe is not compelling, it's not good TV that makes people want to watch it. And these stories were important stories. I really liked your cold open. I did not love seeing a building as the first piece of video, because buildings, unless it's like some kind of cartoon I watched on Nickelodeon, they don't walk, they don't talk, they don't breathe, they don't move, right? They're just boring buildings. And if you can avoid them, please do. However, the wildlife thing with the guy doing something in the woods, that was creepy, scary, and engaging, right? Could have used a little bit more nat sound. So think about producer. Think about what's going to, and you know this, Connor, because I know your work. Think about what's going to bring people to the table. Reporters, I would challenge you to give your producer options, which means when you come back in here after you've been out, you know, on the inside, don't say this on the outside because it sounds arrogant and tacky, but on the inside, maybe you say, I'm lead, I'm live, I got the best stuff. Okay, don't say it, because really, doesn't that sound obnoxious? But you should feel that way about your story. Let your producer know. And you do that two ways. Like, you went out and shot, did you go out in the woods and shoot that video? Okay, that was really good. And you know, when people are out in the woods, at least when I walked out in the woods, it's crunchy. And crunchy audio is cool with woods video, isn't it? It's a snake. No, it's my own footprint or my own footstep. So give him some of that. Also, when you shot your stand-up open, were you in the woods or was that in front of a chroma wall?
No, I was in the woods.
Oh my God, you were like by a beautiful babbling brook river?
Yeah, that was real.
See, that was cool, but it was so still that I wasn't sure it was real. Reference it a little bit earlier. If you're going to go through the trouble to stand in such a cool environment, you did eventually reference it, and that was awesome. But take me there a little bit earlier, okay? And maybe you could have talked about it, but I digress. The point is you're in that cool environment. You could have shot a stand-up of yourself that you walk in and go, I got two choices for you for headline. I've got cool woods video with some nat sound, creepy crawly things, or maybe my footsteps, who knows. Or I've got a stand-up that talks about this problem where I actually am by this pretty river and I'm leaning down. Is that plant, that invasive plant, is it poisonous? So you could have touched it because you saw some, right? What if you had picked some of it because it was all over the place, right? And what if you'd have shown it to us in the camera? It looks, is it pretty? Is it like green and pretty?
No, it's not.
Is it ugly? What does it look like?
It's just like wooden stalks.
Okay. So, but it looks innocuous, right? Yeah. What if you told us that? If you go out in the woods, you see these wooded stalks. It looks kind of innocuous. I mean, what's the big deal? The big deal is all the pretty stuff that you used to see when you walk through these woods, you're not seeing anymore because of this. And then you come in and you go, Connor, I should be the cold open. Does that make sense? Also, I'm kind of engaged now because what, really? It's like a wooden stick? And that's, I want to see that story. There were a couple, so I would say to all of you as reporters, be responsible for making yourself the rock star of the show. Great newscasts happen through cooperation. You're a team. You guys cooperate and you help one another. Those are winning teams, hands down. But winning teams also have every person in their position giving their best shot. And giving your best shot every day is coming back to this producer, giving them your best video, and if you don't have that, giving them a magical stand-up that engages people. Make sense? Okay. Stand-ups, whether they're teases or whether they're in your story, should do two things. Illustrate or demonstrate. Jules, you have such a good on-camera presence. And your story had 2 sound bites, and it was about something important. And frankly, you had a kid who was dial-a-bite. That kid was, I liked watching that kid, didn't y'all? Wasn't she cool? I wanted to take her home. Okay, that sounds creepy. But you know what I mean? I thought she was a cool kid. I would have liked to have met her. She's obviously about something. So what if you had been cool too? Like if you're talking about water, what if you had been by a water faucet that was open? Because you were talking about you can't take this for granted. And then you could have shut it off. Right now I'm shutting this off. And what if, one of the things that was so great about all your stories, you guys all had really good data and information. You guys are good reporters. And I'll tell you what, it is very difficult to take somebody to the creative, engaging side if they don't have the basic chops. And as I mentioned earlier, you guys have all that. Oh my God, I thought that was my phone. Oh my God, it is. Okay. I never have that thing on. You all know that, those of you who have maybe tried to call. But at any rate, so what I really want to spend some time talking to you all about is that creativity, and frankly, you'll find it a lot more fun. Now, there is one journalism basic that I want to bring up here now. Don't start stories with what happened last week, last night, yesterday, 5 hours ago, because you know what? Where's my phone? I should know. It just rang, right? This thing has been telling me news all day. That was probably an alert right there. All day long. And I'm an old lady. And if I'm getting my news from this, you know you and all your pals are doing the same thing, and your young parents. Everybody. By the time you sit down to this, if you sit down to this, if you start off with breaking news, 3 people shot in Nashville, I have known that for hours. And if that's your lead story, I'm done. I'm gone. This is not a phone anymore. It's a remote, okay? Work with me. Bam, 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 bam. Somebody give me the new information. And you may ask, but Cantrell, there's nothing new. Should we just ignore it? Somebody asked me that.
Should we ignore it?
No, of course not. But thank you. Thank you for asking. No, but what you do is you advance it. What's new? What's now? What's next, right? So what was new? Oh, God, I knew that hours ago. I tell you what you all had that was magical. Who is the person who did the Safe School Act General Assembly? That was you. Okay. Why didn't I see you on camera?
I don't know.
Well, who would know? I want to talk to them right now. Your agent, your photographer. You decided that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have great video for that piece?
Not exactly.
It was a bunch of buildings, right? Okay, with the occasional gold dome, which is always interesting nominally. You would have been fabulous on camera. We needed you on camera. You know why? Because you had boring video. And granted, you know, if I were saying something, you'd go out in the hallway and go, I can't believe she said that to me. What she think? I'm going to shoot a bunch of kids? I can't shoot video. You know, all the excuses, because I've made them all, so I know them all. No, but this is where we really needed an informed reporter, and you were obviously informed about this. But what was magic is, could he have helped us make this other story more current? Could we, what's your name? Josh. Could we have put Josh on set with Rachel? What if she had said, by now you've heard about a shooting that took the lives of 3 people. That shooting, but even before this shooting took place, the Georgia General Assembly was hard at work on the safe. Go ahead and make him your lead. That lets you that creates an opportunity. You turn to him, maybe he's on set with you, maybe you're in a double box. Now your lead story looks bigger too, because you've got more people involved. So maybe it's a double box. And you say, You've kept up with this story today. 3 people are dead. We don't know anything right now, but we know the person and whatever the latest is. But now at least it doesn't feel like old news because the audience knows that you're going to go to something that might protect my children, this Safe Schools Act. And he is going to be more interesting, and she and them talking about this is going to be more interesting than a bunch of buildings. But now, so we've done that crosstalk. We're done with the double box. We've shared the whatever new news or not that we had about the school shooting. Now we go to you. We've got him on camera. Remember, you guys are video. You guys are interesting and compelling. You're broadcast journalists. What's not to love, right? Much rather look at any one of you, all of you, than a building. So he's interesting. He obviously knows his story. So what if we go to him now, close up? And what if we have him in front of a chroma wall? And what if he takes part of the bill and he excerpts part of it that's important? And it's just maybe highlighted in yellow. Or we have some font out there. We dress it up, we make it pretty, we make people lean in and pay attention. Oh, we have a person and some important words. However, if we want to read, we'd buy a newspaper. We're watching television. I hope he doesn't make us read it. Oh, he's not. He's going to tell us a little bit about what it says. Here are the 3 key points. This and this and this. And today I spoke with the lady that we saw. And she says this, that, and the other thing. I'm more interested. Also, now Rachel's giving me information. Rachel's a good anchor. You're a good anchor. He's interesting. He answers questions to a person who, he doesn't know and holds his head up. So he's going to be good on camera. He's walked us through a piece of legislation, which is, God, ugh. Please, how boring. But he's made it interesting because he was a reporter. He cut to the chase. I'm not going to read through all the henceforth and whereas and wherefore art thou and everything else that bills say, because he's cut to the chase and given me the 3 key points. And don't give us more than 3. People's heads blow up when you do that. And then he goes to the package, and now the package can be more concise. It can be a couple of sound bites without all the wallpaper buildings, because we're going to go see more buildings in St. Mary's in just a minute. Does that make sense to you all? Use the elements. You're journalism students, and you have that critical thinking training in journalism, but what each one of you brings to the table that you may or may not be aware of yet, but I suggest you get aware of this before the end of the semester, and I'm sure V's told you this, each one of you brings something unique and magical that is you and only you and nobody but you. And you need to really think about what that is, because you have it. I know what Sydney's is. Nobody outworks Sydney. I know what Balsavius is. Balsavius is really natural on camera. I mean, what you see is what you get. I've worked with them a couple of times, and Balsavius is going to, when she shows up, she shows up. This is Ashley Balsavius, and she's who she is. So every one of you has something that is uniquely you. Lean into that. Lean into your talent a little bit. And don't be nervous. Sometimes, how many of you have ever been out in a story and said, I wish I could say this, do this, try this, and went, nah, they'll think that's dumb, crazy, nuts, whatever. Has that ever happened to anybody? Yeah? Can you think of an example where that happened? Can anybody think of an example where they said, I really wanted to do something, but I knew it would be nuts? Nobody? Sydney? Yeah, use an example where you didn't do it because you just were concerned about what people would say, think. So I think you made a good call not making yourself the center of the story in that way, because you did I saw that story, and that was such a great story. You would have interrupted it because you did a beautiful job with that story. However, and if you killed it for that, yes. But don't kill an idea just because you think it's silly, stupid, doesn't feel good. Try it. What's going to happen? You think we're going to sell the media to, I don't know, what are those shows that young people watch that I hate? What is it? Those celebrity things. Yeah, junk like that. Yeah. What are we going to do? Hey, we got this stand-up. We'll save it for 30 years, and then when you're famous, we'll go, check this out. Sydney on the back of a bike. No. So I would say trust your judgment and try things, all right? Okay. Written, school safety, double box. Oh, another thing. This school shooting was different. Why?
Female suspect.
What? Would it have been worth, producer, because your reporters are busy, would it have been worth calling somebody from the School of Psychology about that and maybe gotten somebody to speak to that? That felt really different to me. Make a phone call. Or if you have some APs, have them make a phone call. Don't be satisfied with something as is. If your nose for news is telling you this is weird and different, at least call and maybe ask the question, is this weird and different? Or have we missed a bunch? What's going on? Is this indicative of anything? Now, this doesn't mean you walk around and do man on the street, because that's anecdotal nonsense. But we're at a Research One university. We have experts in stuff, like leading world experts. This is a gold mine, and you guys should maximize it while you're here. And word, when you leave, you should still maximize it, okay? There's stuff going on here that baffles my mind. So it might have been, that might have been a way to advance that story. But what if he had also, he's over here, Josh, right? Josh is over here without a lot of video. We got buildings, we got the occasional gold dome. We've already had him in 2 shots. What if Josh had given us a timeline with this Safe Schools Act? What's the impetus behind that? It's because we don't think they're that safe. What if we had had a timeline of school shootings in the last 5 years? And what if he had walked us through that? Or what if he had gotten some police reports from Athens, Clarke County? File open records this morning. Hey, how many violent incidents have we had? The Georgia State General Assembly is looking at this Safe Schools Act. How many have we had? What's been the increase in the last 5 years? And now you've got data viz. Think about the why behind the what of your stories. Why are we doing a Safe Schools Act? Because something's happened. There's some data points that tell us we need that. I suppose. I don't know. I haven't seen the data. Maybe we don't. Okay. The bell. Maddie, I loved you on camera. Watch your audio. Yeah, watch your audio. Everybody, how many of you use those headphones? Okay. How many of you just listen to your audio? Hold your hand up high, loud and proud. How many of you use the view meter? Is it just me and Tom? Thank goodness. Use the view. Don't trust your ears. Are you kidding me? Do you know why I talk so loud? People think it's because I'm aggressive. It's because I can't hear. I think. You know what? So if I were to listen, if I were to produce a story, I'd blast you out if I used my ears. You trust your view meters. Okay. Everybody knows what that is, right? Okay. All right. So last week a bell was stolen, is what our anchor said. And then Maddie said, last week a bell was stolen. What? Just in case we missed it? So think about that. Who wrote the lead? And you wrote the package. I wrote the lead as well. Oh, mercy me. Maddie cared about the bell just in case you didn't know it's gone. But be careful about last week. Y'all go ahead and laugh. There's so many other last weeks, last months in this cast. What do you think might have made that story what's new, what's now, what's next?
I was kind of trying to figure out something creative, like starting at for 100.
Speak into the microphone.
Okay.
Turn it on first. Oh yeah, or turn it on.
So I was trying to think of something creative, like starting my package with, for 160 years, this bell stood right here, instead of saying that it was stolen last week. But then I just use that in my stand-up, and so I don't know.
Well, what did that sheriff tell us?
The reward.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah. There's a $1,000 reward out. If you know, and you can lead police to a 160-year-old bell. Second sentence. The bell was stolen last week. Always think about advancing your story. Yes. Excellent. I was reading your mind. you know the soundbite where he said, he said something like, people don't have a sense of history this important. When you came in, that's where on the inside you're going, I'm lead, I'm live, my story's the greatest. But on the outside you say, Connor, I've got a really good Nat soundbite that would make a good cold open. People just don't have a sense of history of this bell. It would have been really good. I love that story. I loved your stand-up. But I think your instincts, again, Maddie should have trusted her instincts. I loved what she had to say. This bell's been here, but the bell's not there. What if you had said something like, all that sits here today is 2 empty, whatever you call wood that holds a bell. The frame is an empty frame, it's not a cupola, I don't know, we'd have to look at the word. An empty frame where the bell used to sit. How much did that bell weigh?
A lot. The sheriff said.
Is that pounds or
he didn't
is
know
that some English way of measure?
He didn't know the exact weight, but he did say, I wish I could have included that it was probably a 2-man job.
Okay. What if you had started out with, it was probably a 2-man job?
Yeah.
Sheriff so-and-so is talking about the people who moved this bell that now, in this place that now sits empty. Trust your instincts. You have good ones. All right. Oh, what am I looking at this? I'm on paper. I'm not used to paper. I'm a millennial. 10 times over. Okay. You had a jump cut with the sheriff. Be careful of that. You know. St. Mary's. So that was an old story, but it was an important story. I liked your stand-up. You have a really nice on-camera presence. Like, for whatever reason, are you like a valedictorian of your high school or something? You seem like you would be. Anyway, I believe you. You have presence. I believed you. So when you have an on-camera credibility like that, then use it. What you might have done was, instead of being out kind of in a place that I didn't see as necessarily germane to your story, what if you had given us some data that you were talking about in your stand-up and maybe illustrate it? We've got like a smart board somewhere around here. We probably have an old school chalkboard. That is way too old school. But what if you illustrate and demonstrate and walk us through data? People like to watch news, and they like to watch, in your world, influencers, which I hate that, but so I'm going to call them presenters. You don't need to be influencers. But we trust human beings. And if you walk me through information in bite-sized chunks, I feel like I can digest it. So I had a couple of questions. You don't get to ask for this relief. They just like pick you like out of the magic hat.
They looked through all of the accounts and used the 2 criteria of
Right.
your
That was
income.
so good that you had that.
Yeah, so they used those 2 criteria, and presumably anyone who meets that criteria gets their debts forgiven as long as they were past patients.
And why is this so important, what this hospital's doing? You told us in your story. Does anybody know why this is really a cool story and so important? I think in your story, you said 5%, what was it? A whole bunch of people go bankrupt or something?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like one of the leading causes of bankruptcy. Just medical debt is a huge issue, especially in the U.S.
So it's a giant human story. So now you get to be sick, and then you get to be broke, too. Oh, goody. You know, I mean, the healthcare system and the inability to pay this is huge. It is a very human story, and it is a painful story. And I would have liked to have seen some human in there.
Yeah.
Now, do you do I just randomly go over and say, hey, have you been sick and do you owe a bunch of money to a hospital? Tell me all about it. You can't do that. But what you might do is talk, again, this is where I kind of go to my experts here who can maybe share the human story, or your PR person, depending on the questions you ask, might be able to share a really human story. Okay, he might be able to say, we had a woman in here, she had 3 kids, her husband worked 8 jobs, they lost their, you know. Remember, information, but impact of that information on people. Yes.
In that case, like, you know, you want to get the human story and make it
human,
relatable to humans and stuff. But if there's something like that where they can't really talk about a patient or something, but they just say, we had, and example, you just let them tell that.
If they don't name the patient,
just let them talk about that.
you can. Now, your big question is, as a journalist, how do I verify that? How do I know he's not just blowing smoke? So what I might do then is say, hey, do you have some data that you can show me with maybe names redacted? Do you have something you can show me to see what the average hospital bill is here? Can I look at some of the bills? Don't show me any personal information, because then, even if he didn't give you that story, she's credible on camera. What if she told us? What if she said something like, the average income in Athens, Clarke County is X. That's X number of dollars below the poverty level. The average bill at St. Mary's was $1,267.02. I'm making that up, whatever it was. Then we might get the sense of people. Does that make sense? Got it. All right. Great data from the Commonwealth Fund. McGregor Rowland. How tall are you? Like taller than any camera ever? Huh? So make sure you have the camera looking at you. I suspect you have a decent on-camera presence. I wasn't able to tell it because I thought, okay, why is he shooting this at a very weird angle? I was going to say, got that little mini tripod. So stand like out in the field. You can cover a multitude of sins. If you're on hilly terrain, sometimes I had crummy equipment, like the tripod would fall apart or something. So I'd have to like walk down a hill so that I was shorter. I know that sometimes there's not always a hill available. You can balance cameras on car hoods. Be careful with that. You don't want to break them. But be ingenious out there in the field rather than kind of shooting up like that. I have to. Oh, we're done, aren't we? You sure? All right. Okay, so Jules, great video referencing. With a bag of popcorn in hand. That was excellent. Learn to write to the video that you have, not the video you wish you had. But I want to hear some Nat sound. Crank up that Nat sound. We should always have sound. I just have to ask, did Rachel make somebody mad? Did she make you mad? Because you produced her right out of the show. It's like when Ashley showed up and Sydney showed up, you said, Rachel is dead to me, we're never seeing her again. Why was that?
We had to float some stuff for a time.
Ah, okay, got it. I just thought, what happened to our anchor? Too bad, so sad. She made the producer mad. Ooh. Be careful of that. If you have to float stuff, try to take your weather and sports people, give their leads back to the anchor. You don't want to lose your anchor. Your anchor is your primo traffic cop, and she's good at it. So do that. What is up with all the old UGA sports? Okay, so can I just say, so Sydney Hood, I happen to know, is a masterful storyteller. If y'all didn't see the biker story, you should. So I would just venture to say, I'm not a sports person. I know it has balls. Sometimes they're different shapes. They're different sizes. There's little speckledy ones for hitting with a club. And then there's pointed ones for kicking over goals. All sorts of balls. But I know that people get really excited. Sports is the last bastion where people of all kinds come together to cheer for one thing, right? Sports is thrilling. Oy. And you write thrilling stories, so those weren't your stories. So Sydney, I would just say, and I would say this to all of you, if you're doing sports, then think about what sports really is. It's a story of, I won't say good and evil, tale as old as time. No, it's not that either. It's not Romeo and Juliet, but it is very much people trying their hardest, being their best. They are like the man in the arena who may succeed and who may fail, but by golly is in there fighting. You got to get that if you're going to do sports stories. So even if there's nothing sporty happening, you did have two things at the end. There's going to be some sport happening Wednesday. They're going to be running to Texas or something. You try to be creative with your writing. I know it can be hard to talk to athletes on the campus, but maybe a call to a coach, to the running people, the track team, maybe you could have advanced that story. and maybe told us a story about a running star. Because we're interested in stories about humans that do cool stuff. Okay? Producers and anchors, you guys have a job to do. Everything can't be a package. But you guys have an opportunity to create magic moments. The thing about the subscriptions, wasn't that cool? Who would not love to be able to cancel a bunch of subscriptions? I keep cutting up my credit cards to get new ones, hoping that'll do it. It used to. It doesn't anymore. They just found their way. No, I'm kidding. I don't do that. But I've thought about it because it's that hard. So what if the producer and Rachel had gotten together and said, let's make a magic moment here? Because this is something we can all relate to. When you find something that's like sports that we can all relate to, what might have been a way to make that a magic moment? How could we have produced good television with that? Anybody got an idea? I hate man on the street stuff, but every now and then there are things that are so universal that to show them, even if it's like, oh my God, I've got 50. Oh, my dad had to cancel my credit card forever. He's never getting one again. I'm going to have to get my own because or I'm trying. Or even, this would be a moment to, because when you have a good anchor, try to find ways to make them shine. I might have put her on set with, I don't know, maybe by herself. Or I might have had her stand up and with her cell phone maybe walk through like, I'm trying to cancel this subscription. Let me redact. Oh, I've got to, are you sure you want to cancel? Are you doubly sure? We're going to take your firstborn. Are you okay with losing Rex? Or whatever. You know, if you walk people through so that they can share that moment, you become very human to them. And a couple little sound bites like, oh my God, it makes you crazy. Even if you'd started with just 2 and then come back to her. Maybe open the block with, I've been trying to get rid of it forever. Some nat sound, ding, ding. Are you sure you want to cancel? Are you sure you want? And then come back to her. It would have made that story more interesting. Think that every segment is an opportunity to keep people or to lose people. Car care. Okay, so that woman's soundbite about her mom was so cool, right? As an old lady, I was like, you go. I remember when I couldn't get credit. And now here you are with a car shop. It was cool. But I don't feel like you followed the line of her story. I think you could have used a little more with her. And the other thing is, where were you shooting video of her? Was she at her car shop? Well, could she, aren't car shops noisy? So was she like in an office? Will you give her a mic?
She was in an office and they had just began to work on one car of the day when I was leaving.
Okay. Got it. So what if you have somebody like that and you know they're going to be central to your story, walk them around and get their story. You were a good enough reporter that she said that to you. Once she shared and gave you something, such an intimate look, you needed to go with that. Okay? The other thing that you might have done, how many female car auto body owners, how many women are in that field?
I should have looked it up.
You could have. That data point would have made her a shero, I suspect. Don't think there's a lot of them. I don't know. My daughter is in a business that is not traditional to women, and I always marvel that she's making it. Because I think there's like 14% women in her field. And of course, she's now telling me, Mom, that's actually a lot. Okay. Yeah, that was an inspirational soundbite. I don't really have anything else. Well, I do, but I feel like I've kept y'all here forever. Sorry. Any questions, comments, concerns, or jokes? Nobody has a question? Great call on not using the flyer in your story. That was a good call. I got nothing else for you. But thank you for letting me be here today. It was a lot of fun.